Hello, this is Ed in San Diego, and welcome back to Global TV Talk Show. Our very special guest today is in Zurich, or Zurich, as Angie Weinberger will correct me occasionally. Welcome, Angie.
Hi. Hi, Ed. No, all good. Zurich is fine.
Zurich. Oh, I love that
Yeah.
accent. It just sort of rolls off the tongue there. Okay, so um, I see that you're doing a new series, a mastermind kind of a thing, global mobility, and you are opening or closing registrations coming up pretty quick for the next one. Would you mention that, please?
Yeah, so just for your understanding, I have been a lecturer in the Global Mobility Master course at Erasmus University in Holland for at least 7 years now.
Uh-huh, good.
And it's a very big pleasure to work, with the junior talents in the global mobility space. Although I have to say some are like almost my age, some of those talents. And we're basically, teaching them everything they need to know and understand to be global mobility managers in-house, yeah, so inside companies. The course is open for registration right now, and if you sign up before 1st of October, the good thing is you get an early bird discount. And I'm also available via LinkedIn, for example, if somebody has any questions from a lecturing perspective, not technical application, all of that you need to check with the university. But if you want to ask me about the course in terms of, how it helped me and what it does for me, I'm happy to talk to you about that.
Okay, so and your website.
So we will share the link in the show notes because it's a different website than my website. It's the university directly. So we will share the link in the show notes.
Okay, that's great. And if people want to reach you, why don't you just state what your website is or your LinkedIn?
Yeah, so it's either www.globalpeopletransitions.com. My email is angela@globalpeopletransitions.com. And you find me also as Angela Weinberger on LinkedIn.
Okay, this is great. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something that's really interesting and it caught my attention. And it's kind of a humorous approach to a very serious topic of understanding today's expats or expats from any era, but particularly today, there's so much going on that's so uncertain and ambiguous, never mind the violence. And the cost of doing business and cost of living is high. So there's a lot of unsettling things going on. So you are a teacher, you're a trainer, and you're people-centric. And you've created this thing called the 10 Commandments. And your version of
somebody
it.
else did that already.
Well, I was wondering, you cast in stone, when Charlton Heston came down in the movie, came down the mountain, his hair turned white, and that's not going to happen. Okay, so let's talk about the 10 Commandments. I have them in front of me electronically. Look at that. They're shining. It's like it's almost heaven sent.
Yeah, that's a sign. That's a sign.
Let's talk about, so we're going to enumerate these things. We don't have to get into the deep, but in Commandment 1, you say, I am the expat, your client. You shall not have strange people before me. So of course it's funny, but tell me about what that means in English.
Yeah, so first of all, I wrote these 10 commandments for the Global Mobility Manager because every year I'm looking at global mobility trends within the lectures that I'm giving for the Global Mobility Master course, but also in some of my other workshops. It's really important to understand the current trends of global mobility. And you probably know that I wrote the Global Mobility Workbook, updated it several times. The last time it came out was 3 years ago. So not everything that I wrote 3 years ago is still fully up to date, although most of these things were rather generic. when it comes to, what is really important for the global mobility manager. And now this year I was thinking, how can I make it even more generic
Mm.
in all this time of instability where every global mobility manager is now a crisis manager? And then I thought, let's turn to something most of us have already heard of, 10 Commandments, and translate this into into our language and add a few of those, what we usually call the trends, into that article. So the first one, I think that's a key decision. Yeah. When we say, I am the expat, your client, you shall not have any strange people before me. What we're essentially saying is, the expat is your client, not the line manager, not the sponsor, not the company. You serve the expat. And I tell you, not every global mobility manager will share that view with me. But I think it's more and more important that we really see the expat as our client and not anybody else in the process.
Now,
Not the
are they,
HR talent manager,
yeah.
la 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 la. Yeah.
So would they be afraid, that's a wrong word, concerned that if you're customer centric, you're going to increase their costs and headaches?
Maybe they will be concerned that we're not always working in the interests of the company that we're serving. But I don't think that's true.
Okay,
Because,
good.
in Commandment 2, you shall not take the name of the policy, your Bible, in vain. I mean, we always assume already that there is a policy. What I want to say here is, just don't use the policy always as an excuse to say no to something. Try to, first of all, understand, the needs of the expat, of their family, and
Flexibility.
then,
Yeah.
be a bit more flexible.
Yeah.
Come up with a model that fits the case and don't use the policy as an excuse not to do something.
So number 3, I find humorous, digital detox day. What does that
Yeah,
mean? Shut everything down and leave me alone, right?
yeah. Remember to call it a digital detox day. We already spoke about this last time, and in the context of mental health, which is becoming more and more important also for global mobility managers. And I find it very important that in 1 week you have like a 24-hour window where you just don't touch digital media. Yeah. So get off Facebook, get off LinkedIn, get off Twitter, Instagram, and try to be with the people that you love for a change, or do the hobbies that you like. Go into the garden, go into nature, spend time outside. I think that's really important for keeping sanity. In 2009, I was talking about, 2019, how to keep sane as a global mobility manager. That was pre-pandemic, pre-war, etc. But I think keeping sanity, you need to start with yourself. You need to start with your own resources. That's why Digital Detox Day.
Number 4, honor the expat's host and home manager and sponsors.
Yeah, so we sometimes tend to forget that because we're all a big family, right? So, you need to make everybody happy in this process. Not only the home manager, also the host manager needs to be happy. The goals need to be aligned. This is so often forgotten. And then we have the sponsor, which is like the grandfather or grandmother of the expat. Yeah. So the very wise person who supports this whole thing and makes sure the expat has a job when they get home. Yeah. So we need to honor these people and make sure they're all involved in the process.
So let's define this a little bit better. The sponsor is the manager at the home office who sends the employee out somewhere.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so fast because for me, this is like my daily speech.
Yeah.
Now, the home line manager is the person who sends the expat, the person they used to report to in the home company. The sponsor is usually 1 or 2 or 3 levels even up, mostly in the home company or like in the group. Yeah, so if you have like a group structure, for example. And the sponsor is responsible for ensuring that the person either has a place to come home to or has a career after their assignment. So that, for example, we're sending somebody from Zurich to New York City. 2, 3 years later, the sponsor and the expat, they will they will discuss, what's my next step? Where am I going? They open doors, they have the right connections, they're well established in the company. The classical sponsor, we also have in mentoring programs, for example, it's usually somebody further up in the hierarchy who can actually help.
Yeah.
And it's a human being.
Is that true in every situation? In some other interviews I've conducted, which will go nameless right now, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's why it's called 10 Commandments.
You shall do this.
It would be really helpful if we all followed those commandments.
Yeah,
and
right.
If we all knew, the importance of having a sponsor for an expat.
All right.
So that we don't have situations where people, and probably you've heard of those stories where somebody has, worked their best part of the body off for 30 years for one company, and then they returned, maybe they even got divorced along in the process. They returned to the home company only to find they have no position anymore and were made redundant. That's so sad. How can we even allow that?
Yeah,
So
what a waste! What a waste of talent.
Exactly, that's why we need sponsors.
Okay, you shall not fire an expat.
Goes in the same direction.
Yeah.
Why would you spend millions and millions and then later fire that talent? There's something wrong. Either, you're not selecting the right person, or, your assignment goals aren't discussed and agreed correctly, or you just don't have your talent management under control. So no firing of expats. Keep them in the company.
This is a hot potato, as they call it, right? Because we shouldn't even talk about this anymore. No. Okay. You shall not solicit.
You understand, why I put it in there. Yeah, because it still happens, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you for the explanation. It's important. Number 6, you shall not solicit from your vendors. What does that mean?
So that's obviously something, we sometimes tend to forget that when we want to work together as a global team, I always say, vendors, third-party providers, everybody who's involved in the process. Let's say the person who drives the moving truck. Everybody is part of the experience. So if there's, one chink in the chain, we have an issue. So that's why I always say everybody's part of the team.
Thank you. Okay.
But on the other hand, you cannot just then go to your vendor and poach people from them, because that, would be sort of breaching the trust that you have established. So as a global mobility manager, you need to understand where your boundaries are in terms of hiring and firing people from your vendors. Most agreements, they do not even allow that. Sometimes it's intended. Yeah, for example, what happens quite a lot, I used to work for PwC back in the days. What happens a lot is that global tax providers, they allow their staff to move to clients because that's helpful. Yeah. But I would not be actively allowed to ask someone from the global tax provider to join my team. Make sense?
Number 8. This is really clever. You shall not bear false witness against your expat. What does that mean?
Yeah, and you skipped, you shall not reduce benefits. And I don't know, you don't see the version that has icons as well.
I did,
have one with graphic designs. So the one which says, you shall not reduce benefits has a burger. Yeah. So generally going down on benefits, going down on anything, reducing anything for an expat is a big issue. So it's not a good idea. Yeah, just don't do it.
Okay,
and
great.
You shall not bear false witness against your expat. I think, having a trust-based relationship as a global mobility manager with the expat and the expat spouse is key to a successful program. So if there's anything, if you ever say anything against the expat, or, you slightly bend the truth for whatever reason, maybe to protect yourself, this is not good. So if you make a mistake, just admit it. Yeah. And, we also know expats aren't always easy, but I think most of them appreciate that. if
Thank
you're
you very
honest.
much for that explanation. So that was number 7, and then 8, and now number 9, you shall not neglect the expat spouse or partner.
Yeah, yeah. So, that's topic that is very close to my heart. Some global mobility managers still don't understand the importance of supporting expat partners in the process. We must ensure that they are part of the process from the start. We buy them into the process. We help them find a job. We help them have a life in the host country. That's critical for the success of every assignment. And you're good, Ed. I didn't think we would get through these.
And
Wow.
number 10, you shall not move your expat's goods. What's that mean?
Okay, so that's a new thought. Because,
Why would I care about moving their goods?
well, that's what we usually did. We usually took their household goods and moved them to Singapore
Yeah.
or Malaysia, where they would melt away and not function anymore because they have a different climate. But aside from that climate issue, in times of people moving around a lot and having cheap furniture from IKEA, I don't think we should consider moving furniture around the world anymore. I think it's not sustainable any longer. And I understand people might want to have some personal things, but you can take those few things that you really need to be happy and leave the bulk of your stuff in your home country in storage. I think that's a lot more sustainable. And I think we need to rethink all of our policies. We need to rethink, flights. We need to rethink, can we replace flights through train rides, for example, and become more sustainable, more environmentally friendly, and reduce all the impact that we have in global mobility, the negative impact we used to have in the past on the environment. I think that's a biggie.
Angie Weinberger, thanks for being on Global TV talk show doing the 10 Commandments. This will be a classic. I think this will rocket around the world. You have a great vacation, and thank you for being a member of the Global Press Club. And
Thanks,
the beat goes on. Thank you.
The beat goes on. Thank you.
Okay, I'm in San Diego. Bye-bye. Angie in Zurich. Take care.